roughly about 12 days into the expanding conflict between Israel and Iran. And now we have U.S. involvement in the last week or so. It's time to talk about how this is going to impact our money, how this is going to affect rates, how this is going to affect the overall economy, and how we're going to be able to move forward in the coming months as this conflict continues to play out. So this video is not going to be that long, and it's also intended to have been so far behind from this news breaking because it's time to let these things develop. This could have been a one-day scenario. This could have been a couple days. Now we're finding out it's going into 2 weeks with a very fragile ceasefire going on in place at the moment. So it's time to start talking about how this is going to impact our money. The number one thing we need to understand is how will this impact the overall economy, and that will have a huge impact on how things are going to play out with our personal finances. So the economic fallout, or the potential of the economic fallout, is pretty straightforward. Oil prices can be affected and may already be affected to some extent, especially if the Straits of Hormuz is affected in this conflict or used as a military strategy in this conflict. So oil prices, basically energy prices, the potential economic downturn due to uncertainty. So this conflict is pretty large scale. We've had a lot of different conflicts around the world, especially in the Middle East region. This is one between two significant powers that the United States is almost certainly going to stay in the middle of. So this is going to have a serious balance of uncertainty that will impact the economy. We know the economy does not like uncertainty. We know the stock market doesn't like uncertainty. And this also makes it very difficult for rates because there's serious inflationary pressures. Energy prices going up, which significantly impacts inflation numbers, and supply chain issues that can kick in if that region is bottlenecked through that conflict and a lot of shipping routes get blocked and bothered. We know what that can look like. Many people blame a lot of the inflation that we had around COVID for the supply chain issues. That's a whole nother conversation on how true that is or how much that really was the issue. But nonetheless, we know that this is a significant narrative around how rates are going to be affected. And rates are going to impact a lot. It's going to impact your borrowing capacity. It's going to impact how much, what you get paid on your savings accounts. It's going to impact your spending power, etc. So just to put this in context, if this conflict goes on, energy prices go up, supply chains get affected, and uncertainty continues, we could end up with an increased likelihood of stagflation. So I appreciate it, Jumper. Thanks for your comment. I appreciate you. Thank you. So this conflict could turn into a scenario where we could have inflationary pressures and an economic downturn at the same time. If you've been following the channel, I've already illustrated that that's defined as stagflation. You have an economic downturn and a rise, which leads to a rise in unemployment naturally. And then you turn around and you have the price of goods and services increasing at the same time. This is called stagflation. Very important for us to understand what this means. This basically means we could end up in a scenario where our dollar doesn't go as far in the sense of speaking, because everything's getting more expensive. And then the source of our dollars, our income, could be impacted where we could be laid off at any given time, or hours could be cut. There could be a serious reduction in demand for our labor. So this conflict is not very healthy. Now, over time, if it persists, think about 1 or 2 years out, we have a hot conflict that persists, then that can put downward pressure on rates. But the Federal Reserve is going to be forced to pick between inflationary pressures, economic downturn. That's their dual mandate: maximum employment and its price stability. So if the Federal Reserve is forced to pick between the two, they have to pick between the one that they feel like is having a deeper impact on the economy. And that is difficult to gauge. That basically means they have to pick between keeping things from getting too expensive or keeping you employed, whatever direct impact they have on your industry and keeping you employed. At the end of the day, that is an extremely tough position that I'm sure nobody wants to be in, okay? Now, that having been said, how do you navigate this situation? You have to continue to watch the news, watch the market, watch this channel as I continue to put out content to try to guide you through this process and guide myself through this process. You're going to have to be mindful. If your what is your financial objective at this time? Are you looking to save money, kind of stay, focus on saving, maybe paying debt down, stabilizing your income or growing your income? Then you may want to worry about the economic side of this from the downturn side, because if rates stay high, then your savings is going to get a better payout. If rates stay high, that is generally going to be a good thing because that means you're getting paid more money on your cash if you're stacking cash. If your inflation gets higher, which rates, have to chase higher inflation, rates go up to chase higher inflation. That also means your ability to pay down debt is better off if the debt is fixed. If the debt you're dealing with is variable and and inflation is picking up and rates are picking up, then that basically means that the debt you're paying for is going to get more expensive. So that could be a problem. But if you have fixed rate debt, let's say it's a mortgage or a car loan, then, inflation going up is actually kind of a good thing. I don't want to get too deep on the economic side of this, but basically that means that it's less dollars to pay off that same fixed debt. So that could be a good thing. If you're on the other side of this and you are borrowing money, if you're scaling out, like maybe you're building a real estate portfolio or looking to buy a home or, borrow money to invest and start a business. If you're on that side of the equation, then rates going up can be a concern for you because your borrowing capacity will be suppressed and your cost of money is going to go up. So that could be a problem. If we end up in a scenario where rates have to stay high or potentially even worse, go up higher, then that could be a scenario that is bad for you if your financial objective is around growth and borrowing and investing in assets and starting and growing a business and borrow money for a business. That can be a different kind of challenge. So you need to basically understand where you're at in the economic spectrum, your goals, and align it with what's going on in front of us. This could end up dead in the water in a couple of weeks. This whole conflict can end up, resolved and settled out relatively soon. The flip side of this is going to be if it isn't and it becomes prolonged, how can this depress the economy? How can this impact inflation? Jerome Powell was already concerned about inflation prior to this conflict. Just the tariffs alone had him too nervous to cut rates. If this war is on top of the tariff situation and it's persisting weeks, months on, that's only going to strengthen his position to hold rates higher. And as long as the economy is holding up even moderately and unemployment isn't skyrocketing, he's going to hold stern for a long period of time. So I know that there's pressure from President Trump on Jerome Powell to cut rates, and he's doing everything in his power, Trump is, to try to put pressure on Jerome Powell. But if that doesn't work, then rates can stay up higher for an even longer period of time. So rates going higher, inflation going higher, you just need to understand, am I saving money, stacking cash, increasing my income? You might be okay. You might actually benefit a little bit from this because your savings could get paid even more. CDs and savings accounts can get paid even more. If you're on the other side of this where you're more on borrowing money or you have a lot of variable rate debt and you're working on that, then rates going up, inflation going up could be a problem for you. If you're looking to buy a home, for instance, could be a problem for you. So I just wanted to put some really quick context around this. There's no intent for this video to be, this live to be long. Actually, I just wanted to throw out an update now that this is played out and we got a little bit of context on this. But hopefully this gives you some perspective on what's going on now and what can be going on in the moderately near future if this persists. If it doesn't persist, things settle down. I think the stock market will settle down. The interest rate scenario and the interest rate cut scenario could come into play sooner. We could see rates get cut, things get stabilized. If this conflict stays a little tense and we have, the ceasefire doesn't hold, etc., then we could see an ongoing scenario and rates can stay higher for a longer period of time. So I'm gonna check for any quick questions. I'm distracted by Goku. That's actually Vegeta in the background, but most definitely Dragon Ball Z to the fullest. Okay. All right, cool. So I don't see any prominent questions in it. Again, thank you, Jumper, for your comment. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all for that are going to catch the replay. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, get the content out. Continue to support the channel so the channel can continue to support you. So all my pioneers, I appreciate you as always. Welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. Drop in the description section so you can tie in with me on Instagram as well as opportunities to work with me one-to-one. Everybody that tuned in on the live stream right now, thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. Hopefully y'all got some good value out of this other than my Vegeta in the background. And, hopefully this scenario benefits you more than it harms you for sure. But comment down below on the replay, comment down below on the video with any thoughts, questions, or additional comments around the Israel-Iran conflict and the financial fallout from it and how you think things are going to play out. Comment down below. Other than that, I want each and every one of you to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.